Do vegans have to be perfect? Are you a perfect vegan? Are you a perfect vegan? Am I a perfect vegan? Certainly not. Hello, folks. Today we're going to be talking about veganism and perfectionism. Do you have to be perfect in order to be vegan? And we're going to discuss that coming up here. But first, if this is your first time ever watching or listening, my name is Simbaa Akamaru, and this is How to Go Vegan Live, where I discuss questions that people are asking, and to break it down and make it as simple as possible. I'm also a course creator, so I do have a free course available to you if you are thinking about going vegan, just went vegan, or maybe you're just curious, like, hey, what is this about? I have a course that has 3 things that every vegan needs to know. So, some things that you can consider. All right, enough of that, and let's answer the question. Do you have to be perfect in order to be vegan? So, first, is being vegan or is being perfect even possible? Now, as is described and as commonly known, um, veganism it's an ideology, more or less, right? When you go plant-based, you're just not eating meat or dairy for health reasons. With vegan, you're actually taking on like a creed or like a set of principles where you're like, okay, I'm going to try to live a life of avoiding animal exploitation. All right. So that's what vegan is. It's about animal exploitation. So, vegans seek to avoid anything that is relied on animal exploitation, right? And then the vegan society, which I've never met these folks, but they seem like they're very important in the vegan community. The vegan society, they acknowledge that veganism is a philosophy and a way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as possible, and practicable, about animal exploitation. So, it's talking about doing the best you can, according to the vegan society. Like I said, at this point, I'm not sure who they are, but they seem like they are people who are maybe a governing body to kind of decides what goes on in the vegan world. I'm not sure, but it's even written in the legislation there that it's about doing the best that you can. So, when you start to break things down and what's vegan and what's not, I did a video, that you can check out about is soda vegan, and I talk about how, like Mountain Dew, there's nothing in Mountain Dew that's derived from animal exploitation, but one of the dyes was tested on animals. And so it gets very, very murky as to what is vegan, what is not vegan, how to be a perfect vegan. Um, yeah, you drive yourself crazy, right? Trying to say, oh, swatting flies or swatting gnats or bug spray, right? Things like that. Are we harming creatures, right? It gets very difficult, mentally, to try to sustain that and to try to be perfect. So I would say do the best that you can. Another thing, pro tip, when it comes to trying to do things perfectly, there is no award for being the perfect vegan, right? And so you need to make sure that, you don't become self-righteous in the process. I know about that firsthand because I became self-righteous. You start to focus too much on like what you're supposed to be doing and what you're not supposed to be doing, like getting very dogmatic. And then you start to like lose out on the relationships of the people around you. You kind of start to isolate yourself. And the goal and the purpose of being vegan is to like help everybody, including the animals, right? So if you're like start to exclude yourself from other people, or you start to become more prickly around them, just check yourself to see if you are becoming self-righteous, or if you have a close friend who's kind of like, who lets you know, like, hey, am I becoming self-righteous? Am I, um, going too hardcore about this right now and starting to cut too many people out? You do have to have someone for accountability. I would recommend. All right. So that's something I want to say about veganism and perfectionism. Don't become self righteous, and you can't be perfect. Do the best you can. All right. Next thing, you got to meet yourself and you got to meet other people like wherever you're at. Right. So the first time I ever heard about vegetarianism or veganism, it was like 2005. At the time, I was like 15. I watched a PETA documentary and it did nothing for me at all. Right. Then I ended up going vegan in 2017 when I was 27. Right. And I was like, oh my gosh, how can anybody see this and not go vegan instantly? You know? And so there was like what, 10 plus 2, 12 years in between there that I was like, meh, I know the things, I don't really care, right? So when you go vegan, you get super excited, even for yourself. You'd be like, yeah, I want to do this, but everybody's not at the 10 out of 10, excluding everything, 10 out of 10, all in on what it means to be vegan. So make sure that you give yourself grace and you give grace to other people. Just meet people where they're at. Some people who want to go vegan, but they're like, I can't do it all the way. Like, please don't hurt yourself or get too upset about the whole thing, because there's people who are flexitarians. Flexitarians are people who they still consume meat, but they also incorporate plant-based options into their diets, because they understand that it's still healthier. And the next point I'll talk about, every little bit does make a difference. So, it's not about being 10 out of 10 vegan in any way. It's just a label and a term, which, we do have to describe things, but it's not that big a deal, right? You might be a flexitarian, you might be a vegetarian, or you might create your own path and your own way of eating. So meet yourself and other people where you're at. And then finally, small changes make an impact. As I stated earlier, when it comes to meeting people, meeting yourself where you're at. Um, Once upon a time, I used to think meatless Mondays were like were dumb. I was like, what? People are gonna take one day off from eating meat. That makes a big difference. Well, guess what? Small changes make a huge impact. All right. Now I'm gonna put up a number here and then we'll digest it together. Okay, so the number is 23,400. So 23,400 gallons of water are saved by skipping 1/4 pound of beef per week per year. So if everybody did that, right? So let's say hypothetically everybody eats at least 1/4 pound of beef. If everyone refrained just once a week from doing that, 23,400 gallons of water get saved. My purpose in saying that is, wow, that's a lot of water saved by just skipping a little bit of beef. But at the same time, every little bit counts. So, like I was saying, if you are unable to completely refrain or don't want to refrain from animal products in your diet, right? Still increasing the amount of vegetarian or vegan options in your palate, increasing the plant focused nature of what you're eating, is naturally going to have a positive impact. So, like I said, it's not about going all in 10 out of 10 necessarily. It's all about just making a bigger impact than you're currently making, and just doing things a little bit differently by changing some recipes and some ingredients. So, that is what I have to say about veganism and perfection. It's not about perfection at all. It's about meeting yourself where you're at. It's about every little bit counts, and it's about doing the best that you can. Right? Being vegan is just about avoiding animal exploitation to the best of your ability, and a lot of times that comes down to access and equity to different products, and depends on whatever you got going on for your finances, where you're at locally, and all types of different factors. So everybody's vegan journey or vegetarian herbivorous journey is going to be a little bit different than someone else's. And so I think it'd be super cool if people would put in the chat kind of how their vegan or vegetarian journey's been going. I know for me, it's had highs and it's had lows. And so I think it's cool that we all share the highs and the lows, because I think it's good to normalize it. I went through a time myself where I felt very socially isolated and didn't really have an outlet or anyone to feel that I could connect with. And it did weigh on me mentally, right? Since then, I've reformed some of the things that I've been doing in my practices, and thanks to getting mental health help and getting help with a personal trainer or life coach, and really tapping into all different types of services, including nutrition coaching, and personal training. And so I want to say, if anyone out there is struggling with anything, please, please, please reach out to as many resources that you have available as possible to see what you can do for yourself. If you're a brand new vegan or vegetarian, I do have a free mini course for you. It's called 3 Things Every Vegan Needs to Know. I would say take a look at it. There's a link below, and see if going vegan is right for you, if it's right for you right now, or maybe you just want to do some meatless Mondays. Check it out. So until next time, everybody, keep grazing.